Hey all, welcome to our first edition of the 2024 CrossFit Games workout recap video, I guess is what you can call this.
It's a long name.
It's a long name. We'll work on the title moving forward, but Chelsea and I took on 24.1 this morning. We're here to give you our live reaction. We're going to watch the workout with you, give you some strategies and tips, some things that we were thinking about as we were going through it. It's a fun one. It's a grindy one. What is 24.1?
First of all, I like how you're out of breath. We did
Just
this
talking.
workout maybe like 15 minutes ago.
Maybe. Yeah.
And like you're trying to still recover, we're just going through the intro.
Yeah.
So the workout is against a 15-minute time cap. It's 21:15.9, but it is dumbbell snatches, burpees, dumbbell snatches, burpees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 21 of those. And then you do it 15 reps each and then 9 reps each. The dumbbell snatches, you have to do all on one hand and then all on the other. So we both went with the left arm first.
Yep.
So it starts, we did the left arm, burpees, right arm, burpees, and then we moved on to the 15 reps and so on.
Yeah, and Dave Castro was back announcing this workout, and in typical Dave Castro fashion, took about 10 minutes to describe this workout. Got really confusing, a lot of chalk, mushrooms, the whole nine. When he initially announced the workout, what was your first thought about the test?
Honestly, when I saw it, because I forgot that the announcement was happening until you messaged me, and I pulled it up and I just kind of looked at it and I was like, is that it? I was like, is there a max lift after? Like where's the trick? Where's the trick? You know, and then as you look at it more, you realize the trick is it's all about you and your efforts. Because it's a very manageable workout.
It is.
But it really is, it's going to hurt as bad as you want it to hurt. So it's a bit of a mental hurdle for this one.
I agree. When I first saw it, my honest first opinion was, that's kind of boring to do and to judge, because you're like, you literally are going to stay in the same little, 4 foot by 6 foot box for the entire workout. And honestly, for me, I like to move around a little bit. Let's move to the pull-up bar. Let's move to the wall ball station. It's like, no, you just get to stand still and just keep working till you knock this thing out. And then having had a chance to do it, any changes of opinions or thoughts post-workout?
I mean, I liked it.
Yeah.
I love a grinder that doesn't have a lot of skill to it. It's just move, and it's all up to you, and if you're in the mindset that you can really push it, you can. And if you're not, it's not going to go as well, but, you're still going to do it.
Yeah.
And I also appreciated, our programming leading up to this has been some workouts that we didn't really like. Some couplets where our feet were on fire and we were just like, this sucks. We want to do another movement. So even though we were in one place, we're kind of used to it.
Yeah.
So I would say that I felt very prepared for it, which was nice.
Yeah, I almost felt bad for our athletes a little bit because almost. But then I was like, no, this has made them better, because if you've taken a peek at our Wednesday workouts over the last couple of weeks, we've done some interval training where we're doing some movements and we finish off each round with some burpees over a bar. And this felt very similar of your heart rate's up a little bit and you have to find the cadence and the rhythm of just continuing to chip away. And if you can stay in that mentality, I think you'll do pretty well in this workout.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to dive into it. We're going to watch it with you, give you our strategy and our tips, but then also how we would coach and work with some athletes, because we have a variety of skill levels and fitness levels. So let's go ahead and take a peek at what we've got going on here for our workout.
A lot of us saying we didn't want to do it. We were scared.
Yeah, if you look at the first couple minutes of us, it's walking around saying, I don't know if we want to do this. Should we do this? What should we do with our chalk in our hands? You'll notice right away we've got little dots on the floor. So that is for us to have an idea of where we want to put our hands when we get into those burpees. So we're starting off here, 21 snatches on the first round. You can see Chelsea's cycle cadence here pretty quick.
It was too fast. I slowed it down immediately.
My initial thought was the snatches, from what I've heard from others, and my initial thought was the snatches are not where you win this workout. So smooth and breathe there, almost like you can try and get a more full breath in. That's what I was thinking for my snatches.
I was really flirting with the line of touching both heads. I did make sure they both touched, but it was a whisper of the rubber.
Yes.
Was touching.
And if you're worried about that, I don't encourage you to slam the dumbbell into the ground, but be intentional with really hitting that dumbbell to the floor. And we're off into our burpees.
Yeah.
So I actually don't mind burpees. I have a cadence and a rhythm to my pacing, which is always a step back, step up, and a little hop over. And I can stay at that rhythm pretty consistently for a pretty long time.
Yeah. For me, I have to remind myself to stay low. Sometimes I'll stand up by accident, and I like to stay in that lower position. It is nice that we don't have to do a 2-foot takeoff, and just as long as both feet are in the air at one time.
Yep.
So that's helpful. And then a big reminder for me for both of these movements: one, don't kick the dumbbell because I really didn't want to redo a burpee.
Yep.
And two, for those snatches, making sure the hand is off the leg.
Yeah.
You'll notice in the
Big.
later rounds, I have to like put it back because I really don't want to touch my leg.
One of the interesting things I noticed, and I feel like I've learned this about myself, but I'm a left-footed jumper for pretty much everything. So when you watch, like I step back, step up, but every jump starts with that left foot coming off the floor. Don't know why, just is. But what we found is as long as both those feet are off the floor, you're okay. So sometimes it looks like you're almost flirting with it, where it's like one foot's about to hit, but just making sure we're getting both feet off the floor as a judge and as an athlete.
So if you find that one foot is actually leaving the ground before the other, it means the foot that's still on the ground is your dominant one, because that's when you're pushing off of.
Yep.
So that other one is probably not. This is where I fall off.
So you can see one full round at the pace I was going at, just over 2 minutes. So I took a quick peek at the clock and was like, all right, we'll see if we can hang on here. Based on some of the feedback from other athletes and watching other folks do it, a lot of them said you can push the pace maybe a little bit more than you'd like to and try and trust your fitness. So I was trying to do that, but I don't know if that actually happened. So for both of us, this is now what we would call our dominant or our strong arm.
Yeah.
And I did like this strategy of starting with the non-dominant. That way, when you're tired, you still have this sort of thought in the back of your head of, I know I can do snatches because this is my stronger arm for the bigger chunk of work.
Yeah. It was tough starting with my left arm. I almost didn't know how to do it sometimes. I was like, how do I get this off the ground?
And what's interesting here is with all the reps on one side, it definitely threw me off a little bit because you're so used to alternating and like changing and switching, where it's like you just really hammer one side of the body for 30 seconds to a minute and then switch it up.
Yeah, I kind of in my brain it's very similar to just a kettlebell swing.
Yeah.
Of finding that nice rhythm, which is nice not having to switch. I do know that like that lends me to a not great position that you saw of rounding the back, and I'll probably pay for that later, but it worked in the moment.
Yeah. And you and I have very different perspectives when it comes to burpees. No qualms about it. I'm a more analytical thinker with some of my movement patterns. You're more of a doer. So talk to us about what you're thinking about with your burpees here.
Get on the ground and off the ground as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Don't think about it too much. Don't think about how you're tired, and just do it. Don't think about what your feet are doing. Just get your chest to the ground, make sure it touches, and then get up from there.
Yep. And for me, I find myself, the thought is step the feet back, breathe out before I hit my belly to the floor. And a tactical issue here, Brad, always double knots his shoes and did not this one time, so it cost myself about 4 or 5 seconds there. But for me, it's take a breath out before I hit the ground, because I know if I hit the floor with a full breath of air, sometimes it compresses or pushes on your belly, and all of a sudden it makes you feel like you like lose your wind for a moment. So that's something else I try and think about, is just breathing out before I hit the floor, breathe up as I'm coming up off the floor. And you'll notice in the burpees too, I tend to do a little worm action where I'm trying to keep the least amount of tension and effort in the lower body and just kind of get off the floor as quickly as I can. So we made it through the round of 21. Both of us, ahead of a 4:30 type of pace here.
Yeah.
The round of 15, I would say, is where this workout for me really started to add up.
Yeah. It was, I don't know, going back to the 21 burpees was pretty terrible.
It was, yeah.
But once I got to the 15, it did feel better, but I definitely didn't pick up the pace till later. And you notice that you kind of pick up the pace here, you lean into it a bit more. Because our separation was like 4 reps, and then it was 6 reps, and then it stayed at about 10 reps.
Yeah.
So I definitely maybe could have pushed it, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with how I did it, so I'm not too upset.
I do think this workout does come down to the burpees, like everyone has said. The one thing I loved about this is burpee over dumbbell is not a movement we typically see. We're usually doing burpees over a box, over a barbell, something like that. I did find that these were much less effortful than I thought. Like, we've done a lot of burpee over bar where you have to think about that jump to get your feet over the bar. This felt more like a fall over the dumbbell. So you could lean into it and push a little harder because it wasn't as effortful. And I think you and I both do a pretty good job here of keeping our chest down. So as soon as you stand all the way up, it kind of is like, I need to take a break here on my burpee. So if you can force yourself to stay low, just kind of fall over the dumbbell. I think it's going to help you a lot.
Yeah, keep those arms long and pointed at the ground, and that kind of moves you in that direction already.
Yeah.
You'll notice when I was doing mine, I start to twist a little bit.
Yep.
And that's why my dumbbell is moving as well, because I kind of aim towards the dumbbell. And especially as I jump up, my feet are almost facing the dumbbell to get that little jump in there.
And I did find as we got deeper into the workout, the less you had to think about the movement and the technique, the better, which is why having those marks on the floor were nice of like, hey, just hit your hands to those marks and the rest will take care of itself. Like your feet will end up exactly where you need them to be every time. It's just very monotonous. I even put a little X down where I wanted my dumbbell head to be, because you can easily travel with that dumbbell and move around. It kind of slams the floor. So I even had a little mark where this is where I wanted my dumbbell to be every time I put it on the floor, so everything lined up for me.
Yeah, I like that method for that athlete. Like for someone who's got to put it down at the same spot every time. For me, I know I travel with my workouts. Barbell, dumbbell, doesn't really matter. So I just have to ingrain in me, you know, it helps if the dumbbell's already between your legs. So when you put it down, you just kind of move to the side and your feet are where they need to be for your burpees. So it's easy. It's a simple way to think about it. You don't need to be moving up and down or anything like that. Just move next to your dumbbell. Yeah, sorry to get to that chalk bucket. I thought I was going to hit it with my hand. I almost pushed it out of the way.
I could tell my dumbbell cadence slowed down a lot there, and that was mainly like, hey, breathe, because these last sets of 9 are going to be taxing. I took a peek at the clock.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I watched Training Think Tank's video last night, so I kind of had a sense of what some of their athletes were doing on the pretty fit level, but not like games level.
Yeah.
So the idea of sub 9 floated around in my head, and that was kind of a goal of mine. Here, once you get into those sets of 9, if you have the gas in the tank to try and pick up the pace, great. I know for me, once I settle into a rhythm, it's hard to go faster than what my sort of natural cadence is. So.
Yeah, and you can tell my snatches turn more into swings.
Yeah.
Like they're here, and you definitely are still bending the elbow and doing it like a snatch.
Yeah. And I will say, I was concerned that the snatches and burpees were going to blow up my back, and it was actually much more of a quad pump for me than a back pump. My back actually held up just fine.
That was nice, you know, doing these the way we did. It wasn't like something hurt. It was more just breathing.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh, my back is killing me. It's gonna be so hard. It was just like, oh, it's just breathing is hard right now.
Yeah, and here's the last little push for me to try and get through to the end here. And I think it's like an 8:51. Yeah.
There you go.
Which I was very, very pleased and happy with a sub 9. Quads definitely blew up a little bit there. The lungs are a little bit on fire. So.
Yeah, I just wanted these to be done. 9 never took so long.
You do a good job here of finishing strong by the jump back, jump up, quick jump overs.
That was the best they've ever felt. I don't know why, but they felt really good today. So I was rolling with it. I didn't have to switch to a step up at all.
And we have seen that as much as this workout is about just kind of a grindiness to it, it really is leaning into those burpees and trying to find a cadence that allows you to just push through. 9:29. Beautiful.
Yes, and look at those recovery positions, not laying down.
Trying to find Chelsea in the Jedi Master breathing position. Brad is trying not to completely bail out and go down belly, but
it was good. And also noted the dumbbells were never thrown to the ground in a crazy manner. I know that's going to be tempting for athletes to do, to just ghost it and let it drop, but really it'll help you in the long run because you got to go over that dumbbell. And if you throw it or drop it, you're chasing it down.
Yeah.
Get it.
So you got a chance to check out what we did in our strategies. We were able to hold on for some unbroken sets there.
Yes.
And so when you start thinking about some athletes who maybe are going to have a tough time with the weight on the dumbbell at 21 or 15 snatches on one side, or maybe a little outside of their fitness level, how are you going to coach up that type of athlete?
So for that one, you saw us checking the clock. I checked it after all my burpees and the snatches just to see where I was at. And that is going to be really helpful. I'm not saying time out every rep or anything like that. But if you are going to be maybe breaking up the 21s into 2 sets, maybe a set of 11 and 10, check the clock, right? If you're going to give yourself a 10-second break, don't stare at it for 10 seconds. Stare for 5, then bend down and pick up the dumbbell, because that's where people eat up. They're like, I'm going to take a 10-second break. They stare at the clock for 10 seconds, and then it takes them another 10 seconds to pick up the dumbbell. So resting is okay, right? If you need to rest, you should do that. but definitely be mindful of how long those rests take and maybe have some parameters set up. Like, okay, I'm going to finish that first set of 21 dumbbells or burpees in a certain amount of time, and then I want to make sure I maintain that throughout.
Yeah, and for me, with an athlete like that, I know that that's probably also going to get their heart rate up pretty quick, lifting a heavier weight. So slow down the reps a little bit more.
Yeah.
When you're at the top of that rep, take a moment, take a breath before you go back down. You don't have to be yanking that dumbbell up and down. It's just going to make the heart rate go up a little bit quicker. So maybe slow down the reps on the dumbbell, gives you a chance on those burpees. Now, I think a lot of athletes are looking at those burpees and it's making their heart start to beat a little faster just thinking about it. How would you coach an athlete who maybe burpees is not their strong suit?
So really making it as like mechanical as possible with no wasted movement. So if the issue is the getting down to the ground part, we're going to work on the best way to get them down to the ground. So today we show a few different options for that in class, which is awesome. But you got that jump back, you got the step back. There's also, more of a lunge to the ground method too, which is super helpful for those of us whose mobility isn't great. So that's an option as well. So we would work that out and practice it a little bit so that they are set in doing that. And then, if the issue is the ground part, maybe showing them to get off their knees a little bit more and things like that, and where to breathe in it would be really helpful. You have a certain way that you breathe.
Yeah, I like to breathe out before I hit the floor. I almost want to feel like my belly's empty, because I've had too many situations where you're tired, you take a big breath in, maybe accidentally or not accidentally, you hit the floor and all of a sudden it hits your belly and it almost feels like you lose your wind and your breath. You're like, oh, and then it's like you get a little bit scared. Your brain's like, ah. So to me, finding a cadence with your breathing, especially early on, because the rounds of 21 and 15 are going to feel like a long time.
Yeah.
So finding a rhythm with your breathing kind of lets your body know it's okay. We can keep doing this for a while. And I think as you get closer to those rounds of 9, you almost do have to have that little bit of a mental dialogue with yourself of like, hey, we're almost there. You can lay down for 10 minutes after this workout's over, but like, let's see if we can really push these last few reps. Because the sets of 9, I thought, did go faster.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they felt good. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go. But yeah, the big thing, the getting to the ground part, not losing your air. Another thing, you just squeeze your core a little bit more too. Don't on the ground is really helpful.
Yeah.
And that way, it gives you something to push off of as you come out of it as well. And it is a bit of a mental game, which is tough because you look at the open and you're like, oh, I'm just going to work out. And it's like, then they throw this at you and it's like, oh, I have to work hard.
Yeah. Which I do think that also brings me back to another point is when you think about like maybe goals or what you'd like to accomplish with this workout, tie it back to where you're at with your fitness journey right now. If you signed up for the Open because you wanted to have fun, you wanted to enjoy the community, then take that into consideration as you're thinking about your pacing and how you want to tackle this workout and just giving a good effort.
Yeah.
If you're someone who has aspirations of top 25% and now you and your coach are working through it and saying, well, we're probably going to want to finish this workout under 11 minutes. Now we've got to create some strategy for that. And if you're somebody who's aspiring to go even faster than that, work with your coach on that. So having your goal for the workout tied to kind of where you're at in your fitness journey now, I think is going to help you have a better experience with this workout, enjoy the community, and have a lot of fun with it.
And I do love it because it is very attainable for pretty much everybody. Yeah, burpees suck, we know. But it's a good opportunity we're not going to be held up by a skill or a weight or anything like that. Like you can just do it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're excited. 24.1 in the books. One and done.
No way.
No. Team Teal, Team Purple. Thanks to Cactus Design for our shirts. Thanks to 919 Spine for coming out and supporting our athletes. I feel like this workout was maybe designed for chiropractors to be able to help take care of the athletes after it's done.
Sure, it'll be nice to get everything put back in place tomorrow.
Yeah, so thank you to Cody for that. Have fun with this one. Tackle it. Let us know how it goes, and we look forward to seeing you on the leaderboard.
Bye.